Well, hello everyone. Hope you're well. Little bit of a surprise video. I'm doing this little bit of a video because I didn't do a wet news in January because it was really quiet. So I'm going to tell you 3 spooky dooky ghostly tales. The first one is from Steve Mera. Steve, if you watch this, thank you. Anybody not subscribed to Steve Mera's official channel on YouTube, please press subscribe and learn a hell of a lot of stuff. Believe me, because I know I have for sure. Right, basically this is from a security guard who used to check perimeters of buildings and building sites and whatever at the same time every night. But this one particular night, it was 20 minutes late. So he came down the road to a gate, jumped out the van, opened the gate, drove through it, jumped out of the van, closed the gate like you meant to do, jumped into the van, set off, and there's a set of headlights coming towards him. And he thought, that's strange. So he thought, being a kind person I am, I pulled over and waited for it to pass. But he got a funny feeling when the headlights were approaching. And basically when the van went past, it was a mirror image of himself. Story 2. This is about a little black car in Skye in Scotland. An Austin A35 from 1930 to 1960. The story goes that it was a famous story about a little black car was seen on the Killiney Road from Skye to the main, you can call it really like a departing port, because the Killiney Road went to a ferry. But that ferry has gone today because it's a bridge, a new bridge. Because remember, it was 1930s, 1960s. So people would approach, coming up to the ferry, and see a black car coming towards them at a fast pace. So what they would do is pull over, because there was a single track road then, in the 1930s, wait for it to pass, and go on their way. But the little black car would come down the road very quickly in a rush, so they kind of pull over, see the headlights coming towards them, hit a bend in a dip, and the car would disappear. So the story over the years got more and more sightings. When people caught the ferry and went to Skye or come into the English borders, they would report at hotels that they'd seen a little black car. So of course the story, was around for 30 odd years. So it was well known. And basically, in 1960, there was a tragic incident at the ferry. And the incident involved a man who was a minister, 2 ladies and a baby in the car, which was an Austin A35 black car. And it goes, the story, that the woman couldn't get the car onto the ferry, so she said to the gentleman, the minister, can you put the car on the ferry? He said, yeah, no problem. Swapped over places, drove onto the ferry, but he carried on and went on the wrong side of the ferry. He went over the ferry. The car was submerged, but it wasn't deep, but it was deep enough that the car started to sink. The guy got out, the minister, the 2 women were stuck in the car, and the baby was stuck in the car, and they drowned. And the minister was absolutely heartbroken by this. But the story goes then, after that incident, the black car, the A35 Austin, was never seen again. So was it a future premonition? Story 3. From the top of Scotland to the bottom to the south in Dorset. The story goes where a woman in her 80s was at a function and she was mingling with the people, and she had her back to a young couple who were talking about they had to move from their cottage because it was so haunted. So the woman turned round and kind of started mingling and finding out the story, because she'd lived in different areas of Dorset throughout the years. And she said, "Excuse me, can you tell me exactly what has actually happened?" And the couple said, "Yeah, we lived in this cottage." And she said, "Can you tell me the address of the cottage, because I've lived and moved around the area for a number of years." And they said, "Yes, it's such a cottage and such a number." And her face changed, and the couple said, "Oh, you know it well, do you?" She said, "Well, I actually live there." So the couple were a bit shocked to hear this. And they said, sorry, she said, "Can you tell me exactly what's happened? Why you had to move out?" And she said, "We had to move out because basically a woman would appear at the fireplace. After a certain length of time, she would turn round and she'd be absolutely heartbroken. But then she would actually face the wall and bang her head violently into the fireplace, and blood would run down the wall. And this was every night." And the couple kind of looked at the woman, and the woman was a bit like shook up by this, they could tell. And she said, "I lived there during the war. I had a baby and I had an infant child as well. And I got a telegram or a phone call from my husband, who was an officer fighting away at the time, saying, 'Can you look for such a detail in these letters?' And she actually rooted through these letters and found out he was actually having an affair." So she was absolutely heartbroken. So basically, the couple kind of looked at the woman and she started to tear up. And the couple said, "You know, are you shocked by this?" And she said, "I am shocked." And they said, "Why?" She said, "Because that woman basically was me."